Good afternoon. I'm Mike Phillips, President and CEO of the Scripps Howard Foundation. It is a tremendous honor to celebrate the very best work of journalists from across the nation with our annual Scripps Howard Awards. Our first award was named 60 years ago in honor of Scripps' beloved World War II correspondent Ernie Pyle, and continues to be given for the best in human interest storytelling. Over the years, our Journalism Awards program has grown and evolved until today we have 17 categories for significant work online, in print, on the air, and even in college classrooms. What hasn't changed is our commitment to the core values of journalism: accuracy, fairness, context, storytelling, and a deep respect for the First Amendment. It is these values we recognize this afternoon and celebrate in a few weeks when we award $180,000 in prize money to the winners of our 2013 competition. Judges had high praise for this year's entrants and a difficult time naming winners and finalists. But their work is done, and here to announce the results are Carol Williams and Clyde Gray, co-anchors at Scripps television station WCPO in Cincinnati. They will name up to 2 finalists and then the winner in each category.
Thank you, Mike. And now for the winners and finalists of the 2013 Scripps Howard Awards. In the category for editorial writing, finalists are Dante Ramos of the Boston Globe for editorials that showed local residents and elected officials how their cultural restrictions and antiquated laws impede progress. And Joni James of the Tampa Bay Times in St. Petersburg, Florida, for editorials that explained complicated issues ranging from campaign finance to flood insurance and education policy. The winners of the Walker Stone Award for editorial writing and $10,000 are Tony Messenger and Kevin Horrigan of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch for deeply researched editorials that exposed political hypocrisy and embodied a spirit dedicated to public welfare.
In the category for commentary, finalists are James Gill of The Advocate in Baton Rouge, who challenged Louisiana's culturally embedded response to crime, and Michael Hiltzik of the Los Angeles Times for his online column Economy Hub that publishes as often as 4 times a day, sometimes even more. The winner of the Scripps Howard Award for commentary and $10,000 is Danny Westneat of the Seattle Times. His solution-oriented columns are credited with changing local policies.
In the category for human interest storytelling, the finalists are John Woodrow Cox of the Tampa Bay Times in St. Petersburg, Florida, for profiling the lives of everyday people, and Christopher Goffard of the Los Angeles Times for Private Wars, a trio of stories about the lingering casualties of the war in Iraq. The winner of the Ernie Pyle Award for Human Interest Storytelling and $10,000 is Andrea Elliott of the New York Times for Invisible Child, a chronicle of a year in the life of one of the city's 22,000 homeless children.
In the category for breaking news, finalists are the Denver Post for coverage of devastating floods that tormented the Front Range for more than 2 weeks, and the Los Angeles Times for Christopher Dorner, reporting that closely followed the murderous rampage of a former policeman. The winner of the Scripps Howard Award for breaking news and $10,000 is the Arizona Republic for Yarnell Hill Fire, simultaneous coverage of 3 breaking news stories about a fire that killed 19 firefighters, destroyed 127 homes, and forced a mass evacuation.
In the environmental reporting category, the finalists are Julia Kumari Drapkin of KVNF-FM in Paonia, Colorado, and Sue Shart of the Association for Independence in Radio Project Localore for I See Change, crowdsourced multimedia conversations about seasonal weather and climate extremes. Finalists also include the Center for Public Integrity staffers Ronnie Green, Chris Hamby, David Heath, and Jim Morris for Toxic Clout, a year-long investigation into conflicts of interest among the chemical industry, scientists, and regulators. The winners of the Edward J. Meeman Award for Environmental Reporting and $10,000 are Craig Welch and Steve Ringman of the Seattle Times for Sea Change, the Pacific's Perilous Turn. Their 5-part series introduced readers to ocean acidification, the lesser-known twin of climate change.
In the category that honors distinguished service to the First Amendment, the finalists are Johnny Edwards and M.B. Pell of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution for overcoming government secrecy to reveal how insiders profit from the sale of tax debts. and Newsday of Melville, New York for police misconduct. It was a revealing look at the use of privacy laws to hide offenses committed by law enforcement officers. The winner of the Edward Willis Scripps First Amendment Award and $10,000 is the Better Government Association, a Chicago-based, nonpartisan, nonprofit news-gathering organization that has fostered open communication for 90 years.
In the photojournalism category, finalists are Jerome DeLay of the Associated Press for a diverse portfolio, and Erica Schultz of the Seattle Times for photo essays that documented local diversity. The winner of the Scripps Howard Award for photojournalism and $10,000 is John Tumaki of the Boston Globe for his Boston Marathon portfolio, from the photo that became the signature image of the worst bombing on U.S. soil since 9/11, to coverage of survivors as they put their lives back together.
In the category that honors business and economics reporting, the finalists are Michael Grabel of ProPublica for Temp Land, Working in the New Economy, an examination of a little-known trend in industrial America that uses temporary workers to fill dangerous and undesirable jobs. And John Gittleson and Heather Perlberg of Bloomberg News for Wall Street Becomes America's Landlord, an investigation into investors who are cashing in on the housing crisis by buying foreclosed homes and creating home rental empires. The winner of the William Brewster Stiles Award for Business and Economics Reporting and $10,000 is the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, a division of the Center for Public Integrity for Secrecy for Sale inside the global offshore money maze. This series of 50 articles involved 112 journalists and 42 media partners worldwide.
In the category for community journalism, Rhiannon Myers of the Corpus Christi Caller-Times, Corpus Christi, Texas, is a finalist for The Cost of Diabetes, an in-depth look at the city's alarming rates of obesity and type 2 diabetes, and a call to address the epidemic. Another finalist in this category is the Virgin Islands Daily News in St. Thomas for EMS in Chaos by Stephen Cheslick, J. Lo Davis, Lou Matei, and Jerry Yandel. Their work resulted in disciplinary actions for supervisors and repairs and updates for the territory's fleet of ambulances. The winner of the Scripps Howard Award for Community Journalism and $10,000 is the Portland Press Herald and Maine Sunday Telegram for The Challenge of Our Age. The series examined the public and private sector's inability to meet the needs of Maine's aging population, the oldest median age found anywhere in the U.S., and rallied public support for reform.
In the category that honors in-depth coverage by a radio station or network, the finalists are WBEZ-FM in Chicago and the Chicago Reader for Heroin LLC. Their joint investigation followed the supply line responsible for an increase in overdose deaths in Chicago and throughout the Midwest. Another finalist in this category is Jennifer Guerra of Ann Arbor-based Michigan Radio, which includes FM stations WUOM, WFUM, and WVGR. Her entry, The Education Gap, explored the disparities between high poverty and low poverty schools. Winner of the Jack R. Howard Award for in-depth radio coverage and $10,000 is This American Life for Harper High School, a series by Ben Calhoun, Ira Glass, Alex Kotlowitz, Linda Lutton, Robin Simeon, and Julie Snyder. Their documentation of daily life in one of America's most dangerous schools garnered the attention of President and Mrs. Obama and prompted creation of an anti-youth violence initiative for Chicago schools.
In the television cable category that honors excellence in local in-depth coverage, finalists are John Ferrugia, Jason Foster, and Arthur Kane of KMGH-TV in Denver for Adams County, Exposing a Culture of Corruption. Their 5-year investigation uncovered more than $14 million in questionable county contracts and led to prison terms for those responsible. Other finalists in this category are Andy Perotti and Derek Racer of KVUE-TV in Austin for Children Left Behind. They uncovered a broken foreign adoption system that endangers children and discourages adoptive parents. The winner of the Jack R. Howard Award for local in-depth coverage and $10,000 is KARE-TV in Minneapolis, St. Paul for Unhitched and Out of Control. Boyd Huppert and Jonathan Malott led the staff in a public service report that demonstrated the risks, responsibilities, and sometimes deadly consequences of simply towing a trailer.
In the television cable category that honors excellence in national and international in-depth coverage, judges named just one finalist, CNN's Scott Zamost and Drew Griffin. And the Center for Investigative Reporting's Will Evans and Christina Jewett received the distinction for their collaborative report, Rehab Racket. Their year-long investigation exposed fraud and questionable billing practices at private drug rehabilitation centers in Southern California. Winners of the Jack R. Howard Award for international or national in-depth coverage and $10,000 are Associated Producers Ltd's Rick Esther Bienstock, Felix Golubev, and Simka Yakubovich, and HBO documentary films Sheila Nevins and Nancy Abraham for Tales from the Organ Trade. Their documentation of black market organ trafficking has fostered debate among leaders in international law enforcement, transplant organizations, universities, hospitals, and think tanks.
In the category for journalistic excellence in digital innovation, finalists are The Guardian U.S. for NSA Files Decoded, an explanation of the political, legal, and technological issues raised by The Guardian's coverage of National Security Agency surveillance activities. And WBUR-FM Boston for Bulger on Trial, a guide to the trial of one of America's most notorious mobsters. The winner of the Scripps Howard Award for Digital Innovation and $10,000 is NPR's Planet Money for a Kickstarter project that explored the hidden world behind clothes sold in the United States.
In the category for public service, the finalists are the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel for Deadly Delays, which exposed failures in newborn screening programs at hospitals nationwide, and Megan Toohey of Reuters for The Child Exchange, which exposed internet bulletin boards parents use to rid themselves of children they adopted overseas and no longer want. The winner of the Roy W. Howard Award for Public Service and $10,000 is The Guardian U.S. for the NSA Files, coverage led by Glenn Greenwald, Ewan McCaskill, and Laura Poitras, with assistance from James Ball and Spencer Ackerman. From being the first to report the National Security Agency was collecting millions of U.S. citizens' phone records, to carefully vetting vast amounts of information and then conducting the first exclusive video interview with Edward Snowden, the source of the top-secret documents, The Guardian U.S. was the go-to media for one of 2013's biggest news stories and fostered national discussion.
In the category for investigative reporting, co-sponsored with Scripps College at Ohio University, we recognize as finalists Ron Lynn, Doug Smith, and Rosanna Shaw of the Los Angeles Times for LA's Earthquake Risks, a series that advised policymakers and the public on how best to prepare for the next big one. And Carissa King of the San Antonio Express-News for Twice Betrayed, an examination of sexual assault in the military and the further abuse suffered by victims. The winner of the Ursula and Gilbert Farfel Prize for investigative reporting and $20,000 is the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel for Deadly Delays, a finalist in our public service category. Thanks to its extensive research into the mismanagement of infant blood tests at hospitals nationwide, judges in the investigative journalism category predicted the Journal-Sentinel's work will save the lives of children around the country.
And finally, in competitions co-sponsored with the Association for Education in Journalism and Mass Communication, we recognize as finalists in the Teacher of the Year competition Carolina Acosta Alzura of the University of Georgia and Jana Anderson of Elon University. Receiving $10,000 and the Charles E. Scripps Journalism and Mass Communication Teacher of the Year Award is Cindy Royal from Texas State University.
We recognize as finalists in the Administrator of the Year competition Jerry Sipos of Louisiana State University and Al Timms of the University of Minnesota. Receiving $10,000 and the Charles E. Scripps Journalism and Mass Communication Administrator of the Year Award is Lori Bergen from Marquette University.
Thank you, Carol and Clyde, and congratulations to the winners and finalists. Cash awards and trophies will be awarded May 22nd at the Duke Energy Convention Center in Cincinnati, home of Scripps television station WCPO and corporate headquarters of the E.W. Scripps Company. I invite you to return to the Scripps Howard Awards website or the Foundation's Facebook page after the awards presentation for features about each of the winning entries and the winners' acceptance speeches. And I encourage you to enter your best work from 2014 in our next competition. The Scripps Howard Awards entry site will be ready to receive your entries on November 1st.